Today, we dive into the life of one of America's most infamous figures in organized crime, Alphonse Gabriel Capone, better known as Al Capone or Scarface. Born into humble beginnings, he rose to become the kingpin of Chicago's underworld during the Prohibition Era. Born on January 17, 1899, in Brooklyn, New York, to Italian immigrant parents, Capone grew up in a tough neighborhood where he joined gangs early. He was expelled from school at 14 for hitting a female teacher, and he never returned to formal education. Capone started his criminal career working for Frankie Yale, running errands and later becoming a bouncer at Yale's Harvard Inn. Here, he got his famous nickname, Scarface, after a fight left him with scars from a knife attack. By 1919, he moved to Chicago, joining Johnny Torrio's organization, which was involved in gambling, prostitution, and bootlegging. Prohibition was Capone's golden era. With the sale of alcohol illegal, he saw an opportunity. He helped Torrio expand their operations, and after an assassination attempt on Torrio, Capone took over in 1925. He became notorious for his control over the liquor trade, using violence and intimidation to eliminate competition. Capone was not just a criminal, he was a celebrity. He owned clubs, brothels, and distilleries, threw lavish parties, and even had a front in politics, rigging the 1924 Cicero mayoral election. His public image was that of a benefactor, providing food and aid during the Great Depression, which earned him some community support. But his reign was marred by violence, the most infamous being the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929, where 7 members of a rival gang were brutally murdered. This event turned public opinion against him, and law enforcement intensified their efforts to bring him down. Enter Eliot Ness and his team, the Untouchables, who aimed to dismantle Capone's empire. However, despite their efforts, Capone was hard to pin down for his crimes due to lack of direct evidence or corrupt officials. Instead, it was the IRS that brought Capone to justice. In 1931, he was indicted on charges of tax evasion. After a high-profile trial where his flamboyant lifestyle was laid bare, Capone was convicted and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Capone served his time at an Atlanta U.S. penitentiary and later Alcatraz, where his health deteriorated due to syphilis he had contracted years earlier. He was released in 1939 for good behavior but spent the rest of his life in declining health. Capone lived out his days in his Miami Beach home, occasionally appearing in public but was a shadow of his former self. He suffered from dementia, likely due to neurosyphilis, and could no longer manage his affairs. Al Capone died on January 25, 1947, from a heart attack, at the age of 48. Al Capone's life tells a tale of ambition, crime, and ultimately, downfall. His legacy remains a complex mix of notoriety, the public's fascination with outlaws, and a grim reminder of the consequences of a life of crime. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories from the stories of criminally Chicago.